Can I have your attention? I'm taping the meeting this evening.
I'd like to call the order the May 13, 2019 Board of Supervisors meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In attendance, Supervisor Biancone.
Present.
Supervisor Spees.
Present.
Supervisor Anderton.
Present.
And Supervisor O'Donnell. We'd like to welcome Jeff and Darren in their first official meeting. Welcome. All right, we wanted to kick off this meeting with some good news and some happy news. The Exeter girls lacrosse team is here. They recently won the county title. Last Thursday, they won the county title in a thrilling game. Wilson and Exeter battled in the BCIA Girls Lacrosse Championship. Exeter won 12-11, which was their first BCIA county title since 2015. First half was back and forth until the Bulldogs scored 3 goals to open up a 6-4 lead. But then my niece, Bella Karstein, seized momentum from a terrific coast-to-coast goal to tie the game 6-6. Then with 46 seconds left, senior Aranya Klein had the Exeter up with 4 goals, and at that point, Exeter attempted to play conservatively, but then Wilson got back in the game, so it was 12-11 with 3 minutes left. And then Wilson's Lindsay Fox almost scored with 9.3 seconds left, but the ball fell out of her stick. So Lindsay Fox and Kendall had 3 goals for Wilson, and then I guess Bella said it was beast mode if your team got into it. So you guys kind of played tight and kept that 1-point lead. So really proud, and their coach was wonderful. She couldn't be here tonight because she's scouting for their district game. Jill Rudy is phenomenal. She's a really good person. Her and I worked together a lot on homecoming, so I just, really proud to see her win, and a great group of girls. So really proud of everybody. If everybody just wants to say their name to the crowd, and then we'll all cheer. Then just say your name and your class. If you're freshman, senior, junior.
Gabby Boyer, I'm a senior.
Abby Weller, I'm a senior.
Elizabeth Boyer, I'm a senior.
Lexi Pearsall, I'm a junior.
Jessica Hudak, I'm a senior.
Brooke Wisniewski, I'm a junior. Bella Karstein, I'm a junior.
Ariana Klein, I'm a senior.
Lexi Barwitz, I'm a junior. And Taylor Henderson, I'm a junior.
I'm Elle Maley, I'm a junior.
Nola Gautier, I'm a freshman.
I'm Annie Forrest, I'm a junior.
I'm Lily Gehring, I'm a freshman.
I'm Maya Metz, I'm a freshman.
Alyssa's father is in the back. Larry, your daughter, great job. Thank you. I just want to congratulate you girls on behalf of the township, and I do have a certificate for you girls if the seniors want to come up together. And this is exciting news because our new logo this is the first certificate. That was very great stuff.
I might. It depends on when I have to start. Okay, thank you.
One thing goes, before you leave, we also want to give them a good. They helped with the Santa Slate tour with Lori and her team. So you girls did a wonderful job helping the community. All right, thank you. And,
Thank you.
can stay for the
Thank
meeting.
I'm sure it gets too hectic for me.
Does anybody want to take a trophy?
Boy, are you giving it up now?
Next, quick announcement: the American Legion Parade is the 39th annual parade will be on Monday, May 27th, and it's we have post 934 commander for the last 20 years, Don Motes, as Grand Marshal. He's a World War II veteran. He's 92 years old. This is a great parade that's held in honor of those who died serving our country. the Exeter marching band is gonna be there, you know, your team's gonna be there, all the fire trucks are there, so it's a really great event for the community. And again, that's a great tradition. This is forget how long this is in terms of what number it is, but it's the 39th annual, so hope to see everybody there, and there's information on the website and everything about where the parade route goes. It starts at the school, it goes out, and it ends at the Rifton near the cemetery. And then the fire has an open house at Rifton that you can go see. They have free hot dogs, free soda, so good community event to come out and show your support, and then go over to Rifton Fire Hall to get a tour of the fire station and have a free hot dog. Next, public comments on agenda items. Pat, RCC project.
I'm prepared. Pat Vlasak, 211 Rugby Road. I'm really happy, as I'm sure the rest of my friends are, that about this. A number of us got together and decided that we would do some reviving over at the Reading Country Club in terms of the landscaping and gardening. And so what I'd like to do first is to report to you what we've done in the past 2 weeks. Okay, so what our group has accomplished up to date. We've weeded and mulched the following areas: around the fountain. We planted the area directly in front of the main windows of the restaurant, the area directly in front of and alongside the banquet hall entrance, the areas under both signs on Route 422 West, the entrance driveway, the tee box number 4, and we planted the 2 cement urns that are in front of the pro shop. Throughout the 2 weeks that we were working on and off, the volunteers were Janet Hurlbrink, Kim McKeown, Dave Spees, Jackie Spees, Linda Feaster, Jerry Vlasak, and myself. Collectively, during the days that we worked, and I don't have the dates, but I will from now on keep the dates, we collectively put in 50 hours of labor to complete the tasks that were first mentioned. All of us are really happy that it just happened to be that we completed it. We completed the work by the time the Exeter High School senior prom was, and also the first day of the tournament season. And I heard from Hunter Aarons, that he saw a number of students came up to him and showed him their pictures, and so many of the students went to the country club and had a really lovely background thanks to the hard work that we did, and that made us really, really happy that they could be proud. They're residents, and they could be proud of the country club.
We also, just so you know, we also had the ballroom open. I worked with Derek to get the ballroom open in case it rained, because I was involved, so it probably would have rained. So the ballroom was open for pictures as well, in case residents cooperate outside. So it was a great collaboration between the volunteers, the school, and the township.
That was wonderful, and it really made our day to know that the kids were able to take care of it. Okay, aside from that, we've received donations. So we've received a total of $41 that's been collected from a donation jar that we just happened to put in the pro shop. Okay, $41. And then there is a total of $13 that was raised through the collection of aluminum cans and delivering them to the recycling center in town. Then we were told that one of the golfers, but we don't know who it is, promised to donate 5 azalea plants, and we would put those at the entrance where we dug. That's what I forgot to put down. We cut down all the dead rose bushes. And in their place, we would like to put some of these azalea bushes, which we have not received yet. And then, the first in many businesses that we're going to contact, Lowe's is donating $50 worth of plants for us. Now, we haven't purchased anything because we're tentatively, or more than not, we're waiting for the master gardeners of the Penn State Cooperative Extension to assist us. We have contacted them, and they're an education program, and when I was teaching, I used the Cooperative Extension a lot. And Beth Finlay, who's in charge of the master gardeners, we sent in a project outline of what we would like to accomplish at the country club, at both the gardening and at individual holes where it would need the holes would need it. And we're waiting for her to send out volunteers, and we're not asking them, and they wouldn't be able to either, to assist us with the physical labor, but their expertise is above and beyond. I mean, and so we're waiting for them to advise us on plants that would work very well, especially in the terms of perennial and long-term. So we wouldn't have to do this all the time, you know. And we're really happy that while we were working, all of us I know have received word from golfers going by that they were so pleased that some new life was getting onto the grounds.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
all your work, and good seeing you on Saturday.
Yeah, that was great. We're sorry that we couldn't make it
That's
sooner.
okay. That's okay.
Now, I know that my cohort in crime, Kim, is the next yes, of course.
Yes, Kim.
And she wants to continue on with what we're looking for and who we're looking for. So I'm gonna pass that, not to take your spot over, but
No,
there you go.
you're good, Pat. Thank you again for speaking.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I don't know that I would use those terms with me, but
Kim,
anyway.
how are you?
Okay.
Kim McEwen, McKeon, 104 Lincoln Drive, Reading. Just in conjunction with what Pat said, considering the number of hours that the volunteers did give, which we very willingly did, and we realized once the summer comes, the heat comes, the weeds come, we're probably gonna need a lot more volunteers. So what we are reaching out to anyone, whether you're an experienced gardener, a non-gardener, any abilities are welcome to help as far as getting a crew of what we're hoping for, maybe 30 to 40 volunteers instead of maybe 6 or 7. So we have, actually Pat has created a volunteer sign-up sheet. Yes, which, you know, we're willing to have you send that information to Pat, my website, my email address, or Janet's, and fill out the information down below, because what Pat and Janet are going to do is basically spearhead a wish list of projects, what needs to be done, and then try to coordinate with the folks who are volunteering, how can we get this done? You know, where's your area of expertise? If you have none, you're willing to offer an hour, a half an hour, 3 hours, have it coordinated so that we can get a lot of these things on the wish list accomplished. So I'm just here to let you know that we are looking for more volunteers.
Could you email this document to me, please?
Yes. Yes,
Would you?
we can do that. Yeah.
Electronically.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then what about like getting students involved to help?
That's on
Anyone, you know, I know Pat had mentioned that
that's on the other, that's on.
quite a while ago
the
about getting
list.
students involved as well.
That's the last page of the list
There you
of
go.
the packet, that's the.
There you go.
Got it. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Kim,
All
thanks
right,
again.
okay, and also, thanks again for a great job as far as May days.
You're welcome.
I like the picture with the pond.
My wife doesn't.
I know.
My wife does that. Next, Greg. Greg, you want to talk now about RCC?
Breakout tier 11 Nancy Circle. Sorry.
Professor.
First, I'd like to begin by thanking all the volunteers for their recent efforts. Your work looks great and is greatly appreciated by the golfers. I'd also like to thank Brian Aarons and Derek Sandritter for their work. The course is in great shape, and there is a very positive spirit around the club, which I'm sure will lead to additional play. I think because of their hard work, they are going to be able to overcome the obstacles that have been created by the township administration. The shame of this is that after they're successful, I have no doubt some of you will step in and take credit for their success. The reason for my comments tonight is that I'm concerned with the grass cutting plan at RCC to save money. I asked Brian Aarons a couple weeks ago what the purpose of blue and white lines on the course were. He explained to me that they could not cut the grass in those areas as a way to save money. He told me that the plan was much worse with more areas to not be cut. But he went out on the course with Clarence and reduced the areas. I said a lot of the areas are still in play. He said he agreed and thought it was a mistake, but his hands were tied. I agree there are areas that don't need to be cut, but not this many. I believe this is another example of the township being penny wise and dollar foolish when it comes to the operations of RCC. We may save a couple $100 a week, but we'll lose more than that in revenue. These high areas of grass are going to be frustrating for golfers. One of the challenges RCC faces as a public course is it's difficult. Other courses are more open, which make them appealing to average golfers. A couple years ago, at the suggestion of Dave Beast, who understands golf, Brian widened the fairways and shortened the rough to make the course more appealing to the average golfer. Now we're going in the opposite direction with someone who doesn't understand golf making the decision. These uncut areas are going to result in more lost balls and slower play, two killers for a golf course. Golfers will choose not to come back. Word will spread to other golfers who will choose to play other courses. I'll ask you a math question. I was a former math teacher. If you save $200 a week cutting grass, but lose $500 in revenue, how much have you saved? The answer is $200, but that's as misleading as Mr. Granger's March 25th presentation. My real concern, however, is the way this decision was made. It is my assumption that this suggestion did not come from the supervisors. If it did, shame on you. Instead, you probably talked to Mr. Granger about finding ways to save money. He may have initiated the action on his own. Either scenario would be appropriate. The next thing that should have happened is either a meeting with Brian Aarons to discuss ways to save money or an outline of what staffing he would have for the season. Brian should be deciding what grass to cut because he is the expert. We are fortunate to have two golf professionals in this township. I know from years of golfing that they are both outstanding. It is fine to set parameters for the golf operation. It cannot be an open checkbook. Set the parameters and let the golf professionals make the golf decisions. Stop treating them like they don't know what they're doing. Give them the respect they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galter.
I have to take exception to a number of your comments, Mr. Galtier.
Okay.
Yeah, I directed them not to cut grass because the board set the budget. If you were at the budget meeting where Mr. Dutcher said, this is what the money you should expend to cut the grass on the country club. It was $150,000 or so less than what they recommended. I'm implementing the board's decision. That's all we're doing. The board provided X number of dollars. Brian came up with a cost that was exceeding that amount of money. I said, we can't spend, this is what you can spend, Brian. That's it. That's what the board gave you in the budget. He said, if there's some money in a couple areas. And I said, if that's the case, let's wait until we have additional, your expenses on your equipment maintenance, which were substantial, if there's money left over, maybe we can allocate it to that expense, but I can't do it until we know how much the entire operation's costing. The budget was drafted so that the country club would return some positive income to the township based on it was a board's decision, not mine. And it was based primarily to reduce expenses. The only way you can reduce expenses on a golf course is to reduce the amount of grass you cut. Unless you can figure out another way to do it. You're talking $150,000.
I think you should sit down with Mr. Aarons and decide where to cut, not tell him. That's the point of my comments.
Brian was there.
He decided. He didn't say a word.
You know, the budget meeting, he was attendance.
Brian was right there.
Brian was here. He lobbied not to cut the budget. Derek was here. He lobbied not to cut the budget. Mr. Dutcher lobbied to cut the budget, and the board decided to cut the budget. Am I not? That's correct, right? That is?
That's correct. I guess, I would comment that this is probably a fluid situation. We're trying to do the right things. I mean, the course was almost closed due to potential of losing money. The board is directing, we want to ensure that we are positive for the year. I think we're going to see a report later on that we're having some positive impact. You have to match quality with performance. You know, your pricing has to be correct for the product that you are offering. You know, I've seen what's happening up at Berkeley and other golf courses. You know, they're still charging whatever $60 and the quality is down and they've lost play. So we're looking at number of rounds, people that can enjoy the property. I think the grass cutting is, you know, one way to approach the situation. But my feeling is that we would have that discussion, or there'll be adjustments made as we get profitable.
As we need.
You know, so I think we're gonna hit profitability earlier than expected this year, probably in May. And if we're in good shape come midsummer, I mean, you can make adjustments, I'm sure.
Make adjustments. I mean, I've approved a number of marketing initiatives that Brian recommended, or Derek recommended. They're ongoing. Derek came to me with a request to not increase the rates in, what month, in May. And I said, fine, we'll play it for the month of May, keep the reduced rates. So we're trying to do things, and I'm not, the bureaucracy is not killing the country club. I want you to make sure that's coming across. We're doing positive things. They're coming to me with ideas. They're being approved. I can't say any more than that. You know, the issue is the board said this is the amount of money you have to spend, and until we can come up with I feel comfortable going to the board and saying, all right, you know, the play is up, the revenues are in this fashion. You know, give me authorization to spend more money to cut grass, but I'm not there yet. It's too early.
Well, and we are reviewing monthly reports. The primary concern is that the course is open. You know, and as we review each month, I think it's a time to address each month. We're going to look at the April numbers tonight. In 2 weeks, we'll look at the May numbers. And I think it's going to be a more open dialogue where, you know, it used to be once a year we look at it and make a snap decision based on whatever happened that year. What I do like, you know, not necessarily not getting into individual details, is that, you know, since A&M Golf, we've looked at growing revenue. We have not addressed anything on the cost issue. It's very difficult to run a business for profit when you don't address cost at all. You know, we are somewhat constrained on what we can do on the labor side. So you don't have as many levers to pull. But the fact that we are addressing the cost side in some fashion, keeping the course open and playable, and adjusting rates accordingly, it's a start. It's not going to be perfect. There's nothing we can do that's going to be perfect. But, you know, when we look, I think we look at the numbers for April and your comments. I mean, you see it every day out there, probably more times than I do. And some of us hit more crooked than others. So you see more of the high grass area. But I mean, I think it's a way to have ongoing correspondence month to month. Look at the numbers, and everyone's transparent. We don't get to the end of the year and say we lost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And Derek meets with John every week now, so we're putting together, if Derek wants to raise rates or lower rates, we're playing with the market to make sure we're using Derek's knowledge to, you know, he meets with John every week, so we are taking it serious, and I think we're doing, like Dave said, a lot of good things to keep the course going and making it better.
I was gonna ask, and Dave kind of touched on it, but can we look at if we are ahead of numbers, if we can look at cutting more, like? Is it good?
You don't have to hold it in.
Oh, okay, I wasn't, but I thought he was telling me, because I think Greg makes a good point, like if we are getting a high amount of people out there now, we don't wanna turn some of them off because of conditions. So if we are ahead on revenue because we're getting more people out, maybe we could look at
It's a decision.
increasing, cutting some of the areas.
Well, and I actually did talk to Brian on Friday, and he was saying like, you know, probably some of the normal grassy cuts is just growing. I mean, at this time of year, everything's growing, you know, and he has to balance like 65% of his time is for the RCC, plus he also has to maintain the parks. So, you know, we also don't wanna have other areas lacking because we're focused on one area. Like I said, he's focused on the parks, the RCC, everything's gotta kind of balance out. But he was saying, I'm sure he's just cutting more of the normal area than he would be the other areas, you know what I mean, at this time of year. So in the summertime, when everything slows up, it'll be a lot easier also to maintain the grass, you know, instead of everything just, you know.
But yeah, I appreciate the comments, and I think it's good to have, that we have a monthly forum to discuss this, and it's good that we are discussing it and we are operating, so.
You just say one thing about the restaurant.
What's that?
You don't talk about it, you never gonna find out.
What's that?
The restaurant, can you just say one thing about the
We're
restaurant?
gonna actually talk about that.
Okay. No one ever talks about that, that's a key.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, disbursements.
Regular approval. Make a motion to approve the monthly disbursements.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Old business, monthly golf course report. This will be the month of April for the RCC golf operation. This is something we talked about doing a couple months back. I think this is the second report that we're doing.
Yeah, the weather was better this year than last year. The amount of play was significantly increased. And they made net income, or gross income of about $30,000 more this year than they did last year, directly related to the amount of play. However, in the first 4 months, this course is still in the red, about $30,000. We did authorize the facility manager to prepare a commercial on PCTV, which is a Comcast channel. It is a sports channel. They do sporting events. Derek said this week they're doing something on a SEC tournament, baseball tournament, and if he can make it, he'll be there as in the booth with the individuals, and then purchasing 500 commercials over the 4-month period. Mostly shown in Montgomery, Chester, and Bucks counties on Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday nights between 7 and 10 as part of a weekly event. It's trying to get out into areas where, outside the normal marketing area of the country club. Derek thinks it's a good idea, and I thought so as well, so we spent about $1,200 on that issue. It's still within the budget amount of money for his marketing. I'd say one thing, the greatest expense in the country club is starting to come into play when we're hiring more people to cut the grass. And you'll see some of that expense in May, mostly in June and July when full crews on board. I think he hires a couple of kids when school's closed. So that'll increase the expenses substantially. He did buy some chemicals which will appear in, I think, the May invoice that was in April. In June, so there'll be some extraordinary expenses coming down the road.
So there will also be the best revenue months.
Right.
And of that 30,000, do we know how much of that is like the prepaid rounds that are still considered a liability until they get cashed in, like roughly? Is that included in that?
Well, I don't have that information here, but we only assume the revenue when it's played.
Right.
So I don't have that.
Okay. But some of those prepaid rounds may be in that 30,000 that you said that were behind or lost.
It is, but
okay.
We don't recognize it.
No, I know. I just didn't know if we knew how much of that 30,000 was the prepaid.
I
Yeah, there was like 67,000 prepaid in December, so that'll work all through the year, but I don't think there's an actual number.
We don't keep track that much.
Okay.
So technically, yeah, when you realize that money, you're actually ahead.
Right.
Where's the written report that we can see that we can compare? I mean, I think that's what we're all looking for.
I'll put the monthly financial report on the website.
We'll put it on the website, Michelle.
Thank you.
Next old business, approve agreement of $19,876 with Landis Mechanical for HVAC maintenance of the township buildings.
Okay. In the past, there were two companies that handled the HVAC maintenance for all the township buildings. The maintenance was periodic. There wasn't a schedule where every building was done on the same basis. Clarence put together what I thought was an exceptional proposal, was to have one firm do all the work, improve the maintenance on a quarterly basis, and have a standardized set of work so that everything was done in accordance with manufacturer's representations. He selected, or he went out and submitted, or got proposals from firms to do the work. The lowest proposal was from Landis Mechanical in the amount of $19,876. This is for every township building that owns. There'll be 4 quarterly ones done, except at the country club, but that'll be done semi-annually. But I think it's an excellent start in terms of
Library too.
the library, this building, the building next door. And that's it. That's all. Dunn Center. They're all done on a quarterly basis. I think it keeps the things running better.
They prepared a very comprehensive report, if anybody wants to look at it. But it's quite thick, and they went through every unit in all our buildings in 2 days. We have all the serial numbers of every motor and compressor and everything. I mean, and they actually gave it to us before we even were awarded bid. So it's fantastic information to have.
Yeah.
But anyway, they've already done their first go-around, and the work is really good. So one of the problems we had with one of our other companies, they didn't do nights or weekends. So that was always a problem. It always seemed that naturally everything breaks on the weekend. So these guys, 24/7. So.
Question, will they be able to, like you doing with the roads now, and prioritizing and giving some rating as to project what the lifespan is of each unit?
Yes, I'll be able to do that after the work for you. A little better idea.
Do the question. Do you want to just give your name and?
Oh, you want to go up?
Yeah.
I gotta finish up.
Jason Bell, 401 Pathfinder Drive. I was just curious about the buildings. Does that include the clubhouse at RCC?
Yes.
So it's a clubhouse, library, Dunn Center, this building, and then District Justice?
Yes.
Okay.
Ernie Gross Street.
Thank you.
Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Landis Mechanical for the HVAC maintenance of all township buildings.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next, old business, 30-day time extension for revision of plan of record for Pathfinder Meadows Phase 2.
Mr. Chairman, the developer requested a 30-day extension. He's in the process of completing his paperwork. He was not able to get it done in time for this meeting. He thought he might have it done for next meeting, but requested a 30-day extension.
Where is this? This is Pathfinder.
Pathfinder is off.
Chauffeurs,
Okay.
the other side. It's basically mostly about the road itself. And so. in Pennsylvania.
No issues? No issues with? Make a motion to approve the extension.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next, adopt resolution approving a preliminary plan for ARS Realty.
Mr. Chairman, this is a proposed resolution will grant preliminary plan approval for the land development at 3901 Pergilman Avenue. It's for ARS Realty. The approval is conditioned upon the applicant meeting all the comments from the Great Valley and from the Command Associates, dedication of the right-of-way necessary to the ultimate right-of-way, and that the property will not at any time be used to sell, grow, distribute, or otherwise engage in any business related to cannabis or marijuana. And with a condition the board has to be put on there. So the administration recommends that the board approve the preliminary plan approval.
This is the planning commission?
Planning Commission reviewed it and recommended the board approve it. The county planning commission did the same.
Anything on it, Jeff, Darren, since you guys are on the planning commission?
No, everything, there was really no red flags or anything with us, and
Same time.
yeah, and they had communicated that the county didn't really have anything either.
Excuse me, did you say that they were interested in doing cannabis or
No,
not?
they're prohibited from doing it.
prohibited.
Well, they were, but we said it's not zoned for it.
It's a zoning issue.
We have it at the Flex Industrial.
Thank you.
It's now allowed.
Thank you.
Yes, I made sure.
Council says you both can vote.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next, discussion on community park.
Mr. Chairman, as reported earlier, the Delaware Valley Trust noted some safety issues at the park. We reviewed the matter and have temporarily closed the playground there, Happy Landings. We also reviewed the agreement that the township signed between the school district and St. Lawrence Borough. It ends in 5 years, which is an important date. If the board wishes to make some significant investment into that park, then the administration would recommend that the board begin negotiating a lease extension, because any investment that the township would make into the park, the lifespan of that equipment would most likely exceed the lifespan of the lease agreement. So I'd recommend that the board have a conversation on this and provide some direction to the administration as what the board wants to do.
Can you explain again to the public? It's mainly in St. Lawrence, the school,
Okay.
the convolutedness of it.
98%, is that right, Clarence, of the park is located in St. Lawrence Borough and is owned by the school district. I believe the only portion of the park that is in Exeter Township is along the stream, is that correct? Yeah. Along the stream. This has been a long-standing agreement between the three parties. You know, I think it's time really to look at what extent the township wants to make investment in the park. And if you want to make an investment in the park, then I think you should renegotiate the agreement to make sure that the improvements and the term of the lease are coterminous, because otherwise you're making an investment and you're going to walk away from it. So I would think you'd want to take a look at it, and if you want to renegotiate the lease, you know, do you want to have the other participants contribute to the capital investments? The township is has sole responsibility for the maintenance of the facilities. And right now, this site is policed by the
Central Berks.
Central Berks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, I think, I don't mind, but, you know, putting some money in it, but again, we shouldn't be the only skin in the game. You have it's St. Lawrence's borough, and it's owned by the school, so, there again, I think, you know, if we only have 5 years, I don't mind putting some money into it, but I think that they also should have a majority monetary into it.
I agree, plus with us getting involved in Trout Run, you know, I was on that committee and there's a lot of plans for that, and that's solely on the township.
We're doing Pineland Park, we're doing Front Ridge Park.
Yeah, we have
I
three
don't
other
think we should put a lot of
parks.
money onto a park that's
Mhm.
not ours. I think if the school wants to talk to us, or the St. Lawrence, the three of us could maybe work together on something, but I think we should put our money where we're doing it on the other three parks.
Yeah, and if you look at how long we've maintained it, and the school and St. Lawrence haven't really been involved.
I would just get the rides out of there and like a little green space or trail system.
Well, there's no rides, it's just that wooden structure.
Wooden structure is.
And you're taking it down, or is it down?
Well, it still exists, but it's.
It's a dangerous piece.
I
of
mean,
business.
you have there's a little fence around it, but.
That does not gonna stop.
Aren't there,
That's what I'm saying.
aren't there rides in there, like the
Yeah.
exercise rides that Seltzer?
No, that goes
There's an
around.
exercise trail that goes around. There's like bars to do dips and push-ups,
Are
but
those unsafe? Are those unsafe though, those rides?
They're fine.
Those are fine.
They were not.
No, but like the swing set, I think I don't think there's any
The
swing.
swing is about the only thing that's, I don't think they listed. But everything else, the entire wooden Ford castle, whatever you wanna call them,
Right.
castle, it's an issue from top to bottom.
And Laura, we used a lot the basketball for the basketball program. That's not affected.
No.
I think people get confused that they think basketball and tennis are closed, but no, those are still
That's still open.
on as
Yeah.
usual.
Pavilion's
Yep.
open, right?
Band Pavilion can be
Pavilions
rented
are open.
as well.
So, if a kid goes over the fence and goes on it, are we liable still?
Yes.
So, I mean, but the insurance company is the one who told us to close it.
Right.
So what's the next, as far as that step, should we?
It can't be fixed.
No, I'm saying tear it down. Well,
Fix it, so.
That's what I'm saying, should we just tear it down for now, and then see if, like I said, see if St. Lawrence, and then once you, and see if St. Lawrence and the school wanna get, you know, into it with it.
And we take everything out and then have that dialogue with St. Lawrence and the school, just let them know that, you know, we're not gonna put any more money into that, and they wanna begin a dialogue, let's start it now, because, you know, the 5 years will be coming at us quick.
And if not, then maybe we look at renegotiating, just get out of these.
Yeah, I mean, start the dialogue now, you're already committed to doing Pineland, Farming Ridge, and the other parks that did Lorraine Hollow. You know, put it on the discussion list, but make it safe, take down damaged equipment, you're not gonna repair it anyway, so.
And we're not gonna keep honest people out, so, you know. So, yeah,
Is that enough direction?
too much direction?
I want to be clear, the consensus of the board is to remove the playground.
Yes.
Okay.
And begin the dialogue, letting the school district and St. Lawrence know that we're not going to maintain the park, ride part of it.
I have a question that I'm not sure I know what the answer is. I believe there are names on some of the.
yeah, they were dedicated and donated.
I have no,
We give them back to the families.
I would, there may be, well, there's a couple options. You can, you save them, and if the family wants to retain it, you can give it to them.
Mhm.
Or you can retain them, and if there is going to be some investment into the park,
Put 'em in
you can
there.
incorporate them into the park in some fashion.
What condition, what are we talking about, bricks?
It's the.
Fence post.
Fence post.
Oh,
But you don't wanna take the fence down, do you?
We don't have to.
That's what I'm saying, just take the bad equipment out.
Take bad equipment.
Just leave it there for now,
Fence,
okay, we don't have to worry about it.
We've been
Actually, they're recoding.
You can repair, it's just a slide when one breaks. But some of them don't have names, some do. We stopped, probably 10 years ago, replacing the names.
Yeah, so I would just say, just leave the fence up for now, I mean, it's not gonna hurt anything. Until, like I said, just take down structure, that's the main issue, and then, you know, you might, you know, hopefully they will want to get in, and we can, then you'll still have the fence there, you know.
Just
I say for now,
equipment that can't be repaired.
And then let the school district and St. Lawrence know what's going on, so that it's a transparent communication.
Okay. We go. That's fine.
We're good there, board, consensus there? Excellent, thanks.
Thank you.
Next, new business, discussion on panhandler restrictions.
Mr. Chair. There was just a complaint from some residents about panhandlers in one of the shopping centers. And apparently, upon review of the township records, there is no restriction on this matter, on this issue. And I'm seeking direction as the board, want the administration to, or for the police department and the assessor, prepare something for the board's consideration, or to be silent on the issue.
You guys get a lot of complaints from, do people call the police usually, or just?
You know, people receive complaints, especially if they're aggressive.
Louder, please.
Or the mic.
I'm sorry. Yes, we will receive some complaints, especially if they're aggressive panhandling. We will receive complaints about it.
We've had several complaints over the last year or so, but
Maybe by the target usually?
yeah,
by
the
Chick-fil-A,
giant,
Target.
it's all the way down to Lowe's. But the issue that what we have been telling people in the past is that's on private property and the township has no jurisdiction to do anything. Is that still the response, or?
Well, if it is indeed private property, then you know the private property owner can make complaints saying, hey, you know, we'd like those people to leave.
Okay. Yes, I don't think we've gotten complaints directly from the stores.
I think that unfortunately our culture has arrived at a point where people just stop complaining, and we need to do something to assist the residents. So we could look into it between the police department and the legal support. We could look into how we could combine these and then share that information with the property owners in the township.
Definitely.
I agree.
So, what do you need?
That's
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
You can just make a motion.
They're looking to get gas and close nice all night.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know how many complaints actually Giant receives from their customers or the other store.
Yeah, I'd like to look at an ordinance too, which is I think what you were referencing.
Yeah, that's where we have the police and our legal team look at an ordinance. So somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next, authorization to purchase dump truck with body and plow in the amount of $146,021. All purchases are through CoStars and are budgeted items.
Mr. Chair, this is a request to replace an existing 10-ton dump truck. The original dump truck was purchased through the recycling program and needs to be traded in. This dump truck would be 50% paid for through the recycling program as well. The net cost to the township with the truck, the chassis, and the body and the plow is $146,021. Half of that would be paid through the grant. So the net to the township is about $73,000 for a 10-ton dump truck, which is a reasonable price. So I need authorization to proceed with the acquisition. This is a budgeted item for this year.
Make a motion to proceed with the purchase of the replacement of the dump truck.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Ayes have it.
So she's second, and she gets the first ride.
Next, consider approving summer basketball rates.
Mr. Chairman, this is a proposal from the Recreation Director. The rates have not for the summer basketball program, is that correct? Haven't been raised in several years, and primarily the attendees have been not meeting their expense in terms of the project. So she's recommending an increase from $40 to $55 to cover the costs as they have been increasing in this program. And this will be beginning this year.
many kids, Laura, are in it?
We limit registration to 90 for each league for students.
And how long's the league for?
8 weeks.
So $55.
Is that the Happy Landing League?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great league.
Yeah, but I mean, $55 for 8 weeks, that's.
Oh, that's what I mean, it's great. The coaches are all students or alum, and they do a great job, and the refs are too. It's awesome.
And that gets you basically to break even. It's not trying to make profitable, but.
Still be a little under.
Could we flat this year and then next year do an increase?
Yeah.
That's the plan. Just
Incremental.
Yeah.
incremental and not scare the residents.
10,000. I'll
Yeah,
make the
motion.
motion. I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Next, approve repairs to dryer at the wastewater plant at a cost not to exceed $387,575.
Okay, for several months, the dryer has not been functioning. There has been a problem reported by the former director that the manufacturer of the dryer has went out of business and they couldn't find someone to do the replacement. Current manager of plants found the company who acquired the original drawings and customer files and technical information of the original owner. They came up and reviewed the dryer, provided a very detailed report which has been provided to the board. They costed out the necessary repairs to the dryer at a cost of $387,575. I need authorization to proceed with the repairs.
On the sewer fund?
That'd be from the sewer fund.
Is there pictures? Yeah.
I don't have any pictures. I have an analysis of the report if the board's interested in showing the report to the public.
Is it, Will has it up?
There were a number.
All right. Okay. I just highlighted the things in the yellow, which is really the areas that are of concern to the administration and the operation, make sure that the operation of the dryer is functional. The first one is that numerous cross-support parts across the chamber have severe corrosion and erosion. A material damage to the door internal spacer plate is heavily oxidized and the door seal is failed. The next, the film liberty paddle, don't ask me what that is. Inside the dryer is out of position and inoperable. The brush that automatically cleans the exhaust temperature probe is missing. And the water spray piping, which provides water inside the dryer, is also bent. There's a gauge that is not readable. Don't ask me how to pronounce that. The next one is an issue, is a substantial issue. The water solenoid valves are critical to the safe operation and are questionable in their reliability. If these fail, it could be a fire at the dryer. The next one is a hugely expensive item. All lifting wipers and conveying paddles on a rotor are extremely worn. I believe that there are 450 parts necessary to fix this. Scraping components in the inner disc are severely worn. And the rotor position is not in alignment. In the scrubber and the condenser, there was no scrubbing media in the system. The Venturi section had a hole in it, created a short circuit, which was a reduction in the efficiency of the airflow through the system. Partition walls inside the unit were badly deformed, and the blower, which provides the draft to the unit, had a substantial water leak. These are all items that failed for lack of maintenance over the period of the lifetime of the dryer, some by wear and tear, but others just by less than good maintenance. It goes to extent of the, you need to maintain a piece of complex equipment like this on a regular basis, and it has not been done in the past. I think it's good that the existing contractor found this firm. They spent a lot of time on the report, and it costed out the materials, and I think it's, this would be a good investment to make back into the facility.
For those of us not familiar with the sewer industry or
Sure.
treatment, what happens if we weren't to do the repairs and aggregate?
Right, the sewer is the dryer is the end process, and it's not typical in many plants. The sewage comes out, at the sludge, which is what we're really talking about here, comes out in a semi-liquid form. The critical point here is the percentage of liquid in a cake. Usually it's in the 20% range, but don't take my word for it. And that is usually taken to a landfill and land applied. And the cost for that is running several $1,000s a month. The dryer takes that sludge and dries it further so that the cake is, the percentage of liquid is in the single digits. And that can be land applied. And we have a farmer in the township who takes the cake and applies it to his property. So the cost is only the cost from getting it from point A to point B, which is a couple $100s a month. So you're talking a magnitude of several $1,000s a month savings by doing this. And as it's a continual process. It needs to run all the time. The problem is the dryer, the capacity of the dryer exceeds the capacity of the sludge going through it. It means it doesn't run 24/7. And that is part of the problem you see some of these things, because it's metal, the heat expands and contracts the metal, and you have to pay more attention to it because of that expansion and the fact that it doesn't run 24/7. So I think this is a really good investment. It's a cost savings over the long term, and I think it's something
We also take outside sludge, don't we?
No, we don't take anything outside sludge. We take in leachate from landfills, but we take in haulers. For those of you who have a septic system, the guy comes and pumps your septic system out, we take that septic and it goes into the plant. We don't take an additional sludge.
Eventually through the dryer.
It goes through the entire process.
That's it. Yeah. It's gotta be done, it's gotta be repaired. So.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
I gotta say the whole thing.
Any further discussion?
Approve repairs of dryer, the wastewater plant at cost of not to exceed $387,575.
Second. You seconded it? Dave, did you second?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Department reports, Terrence.
Right now, we're in the process of doing some paving over in the Rain area. We did 47th Street, Sunrise, Linda, Lisa, Nicole, part of Allison. We're gonna try and finish Allison tomorrow. We keep John away from it. We don't get any more rain. Good. Again, we're starting with the mowing. As soon as we get done with this paving project, we gotta get back to that. There's a lot of highway mowing to do. That's pretty much it for right now.
A lot of good feedback on the paving from the residents.
Coming out very nice, yes.
Is it different process or different company?
We have an outside paving machine, yeah.
A great job.
Yeah, do a nice job.
Engineering, Joe's out. Is there anything we gave to you to talk about, John? No. Solicitor report?
I have nothing to report. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm here for Sam.
Chief, please.
National Police Officers Memorial Day is this May 15th, coming up here in a few days. To honor the service and sacrifice of the law enforcement officers that have died in the line of duty, and to support the survivors they left behind. We had 4 officers participate in the Law Enforcement United Memorial Ride. They left from the Heritage Center here in Reading and traveled the 220 miles down to Washington, D.C. So it was a phenomenal event. They all made it down there safely and sound. And again, they're looking at, just from the law enforcement ride alone, from across the country, it'll be approximately about $1 million that'll go to law enforcement related charities. So again, it was a very successful event. Along a different line, our officers responded to an opioid-related overdose over the weekend. They found a unresponsive male subject and were able to successfully administer Narcan, reviving the subject before transport. Again, it's just another positive example of the life-saving benefits of the Narcan training for our officers.
Excellent. Thank you, Chief. And your report, John.
I have a couple items. First is the board met in executive session prior to the meeting to discuss personnel matters. The board also asked for a monthly sewer report. I have given one now. The pumps at the Influent Pump Station are being rebuilt. Some of the material has arrived on site. Others, the balance of it will be delivered late in May. The well is pumped out, cleaned, and inspected by the insurance company. It's a challenging thing to drop down 40 feet to see what that's all about. The plant's been operating within the permit requirements. And a new compressor for solid handling was also ordered at a cost of about $18,000. And an inspection on the centrifuge is scheduled for later this month. They're going to need some work as well. That's all.
Thank you. Public comment? Greg, did you want to talk trust transparency?
I have a couple questions. Greg Altier, 11 Nancy Circle. Question number one, there aren't any minutes on the website since February.
There's not.
There
February
should be.
25th, I think.
We did, March was,
8/13.
March ones should be done. They should be up there. I'll check tomorrow. The April ones are still being drafted. So the ones are not, the April ones have not been
Okay,
acted
so a
on.
follow-up question would be why so long to draft the minutes?
Because that's not the only thing I have to do. I'm sorry, we're in the process of going through the PUC review process on the sale of the wastewater treatment plant, and that is sucking up a lot of time of the staff.
I think that they don't, so we don't post them, we don't post the minutes until they show up on an approval.
Right, that's correct.
Because we can change them.
They're almost all done, they just
We
haven't
can
been approved.
approve anything for April, I don't think.
No, all 4 meetings held in April will be on the next agenda. And I'll check on the other ones, I'll make sure they're up by the end of the week, sorry.
In lieu of that, is it possible to videotape the meetings?
Yeah, I think we want to talk about that as a board.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna.
We're gonna put it on the next agenda. We're gonna put it.
I want people to be engaged. It's difficult for them to be engaged when they're getting information a couple months.
Yeah, just we're just gonna put better parameters around it though. Meaning if there's any cursing or loud or rudeness, we're not gonna post it. I mean, we're gonna be professional about it, both the board and the audience. So we're gonna put a little bit different parameters around it and then discuss it with the staff, and we'll probably talk about that at the next meeting. It's definitely on the radar.
Okay. And then the third thing is we had the last report projected, and I'm pretty confident no one really understood it, and that's all right because that's not our expertise. But do we have the monthly RCC report projected?
Yeah, we talked about putting that on the web.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean while you're talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were able
all
to
right.
project
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Yeah, you can do it.
I got it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay, that's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
That's the monthly call for report.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Mrs. Kirchner, sewer plant notifications.
Michelle Kircher, can you hear me?
Is it on?
Is it on?
It's at the bottom.
Can you hear me now?
It's in the middle. It's in the middle.
Okay, sorry about that. 1101 Stonehenge Drive. So I have a couple things. First of all, I received a robocall, I think it was on Thursday night, last Thursday night, telling me not to use the Farming Ridge Park because there was some event being held. And I thought, well, you know, I get these calls, these robocalls. Well, why don't I get them when there's an important meeting being held so that the whole township can know about it, know maybe a week before when it's going to be held, where it's going to be held, what time, and maybe the next week. We have this robocall going around for important notifications. Let us know about the meetings. That's all I'm asking. Then everybody in the township will be aware of it.
Second and fourth Monday.
Still opt in though, right? Those notifications.
Yeah, and you don't want to abuse, you don't want to cry wolf either. You don't want to just talk about every little thing. You want to use it like the fireworks we did it for. You don't want to abuse it because
Well, when you have something about the
But
country.
it's not guaranteed that all residents.
Yeah, you just sign up for Code Red.
You have to
Yeah,
sign up, right?
Right, well, it's.
And you don't want to just use it for every single thing. You have to be strategic about using it.
Well, when there's
That's my
something
experience.
that's important, and I think that it's important to the residents would be the country club, the wastewater treatment plant, and things of that magnitude, so that everybody is informed.
Okay.
I don't like going on and have to try and search where the agenda is and not being able to find the agenda. We just want to know what's going on.
Okay.
Are you on
Okay.
Facebook at all?
Am I on
Over
Facebook?
here.
Jeff's out.
Yeah.
Jeff's over here.
Right here.
Jeff's
No,
out.
I don't go on Facebook anymore.
Because I know, I think the township has a page and the Exeter Informant, and they do a phenomenal job with
You do a great job.
posting
Great job,
the
Exeter Informant.
events, and they actually post the agenda too.
Well, I don't do Facebook,
Okay.
and I'm on a computer for about 12 hours a day, so the last
Well, then
thing I-
Facebook should be easy for you to get to.
No.
No, I mean, you can go on Facebook at any time and see
Well, I don't
every
do
special
Facebook.
meeting, regular meeting.
I'm 74, I don't.
Oh, come on,
Yeah.
ask
I
PJ
don't
to go
wanna
on
hear
for you.
it.
Michelle, you're probably busy.
Yeah. It's
Michelle.
my preference, well, you know,
Yeah.
with enough computer, my eyes don't take it anymore.
It's all there though, I just want you to know, they do a really good job of it.
I understand it too.
Well, if it's a big meeting, we do, I mean, we don't do robocalls, but I mean, we do definitely announce it if it's gonna be something big, like when we are gonna.
But I don't have time every day to look and read the papers to see, to look on the website. Half the time when I look on the website, I can't. It's just a suggestion.
Yeah, no.
If you can notify me
That's
and
an
tell
honest
me to
suggestion.
stay out of the park for a morning, you can notify me that there's a major meeting coming on. That's all I'm requesting.
Was that their school?
Oh, for the country club.
Has anybody known?
I had a meeting last week.
You done Hey, let's let her finish, and we'll get back to it.
Okay, also wanted to talk about the wastewater treatment plant. I was on the board, on the authority for 17 years. The last year was, that when they got rid of it was 2014. When I left the wastewater treatment plant, the authority, it was in pristine condition, pristine. We really valued that plant. We valued the drag and dryer to save money. We kept everything in excellent condition. The drag and dryer was to not have to put the sludge to the landfill because of the expense. And I saw some of your reports, and there's thousands and thousands of dollars a month that are spent taking the sewer sludge to the landfill. The drag and dryer erased that.
No way that was in pristine condition. No way. I'm in construction, there's no way.
In 2014,
No way.
it was.
No way. This stuff didn't happen overnight, did it?
It's 5 years since then.
It was
5
the
years.
same crew, right?
No, it's not the same crew.
No, it was the same crew from 5 years ago, right?
Go to the next page. This is A problem we're having with the digesters, little text on it. Please go to the next page. This is the control box, where the thing going up vertically is the burner, the flame. That's corroded. The automatic igniter was not functioning at the time this was taken.
What year was that, Mr. Manager?
This past fall.
Okay, that was 2018.
But Michelle, that doesn't happen in 5 years. I mean, come on. Let's be realistic.
I am
This is-
realistic, it
this
depends
is-
how the gas went
Stop,
through there.
stop.
No,
This is the bottom of the previous, at the bottom where the flange is, where it goes into the box in the bottom.
yeah,
The one on the left is that, as I said earlier, methane gas is a dirty gas.
I understand that,
The stuff on the
especially.
left is what was there, that was blocking the flow of gas up through the pipe, and eventually some of the gas was leaking into the air, so we had to shut the whole thing down and vent it elsewhere. And the picture on the right is what the flame arrestor should look like. That's the flame arrestor that we installed in the waste in the site. We are uncovering, we are spending a fair amount of time and effort and expense in repairing things that have not been repaired in a substantial period of time. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Wow, I've seen other pictures that say differently, and all I'm saying is that in 5 years, and we took good care of that, it didn't go down the drain. And there's different things about methane that a lot of it, if it's not watched properly and monitored, that there's a lot of water that can come in there. But we spent a lot of money on getting rid of sewer sludge rather than fixing that dryer sooner. And same thing with the cans about recycling. I'm also vice chairman of the Berks County Solid Waste Authority. And when the grant was put in, it was put in for containers with lids, not for the containers without lids. So I just want to hear the correct story. The solicitor went in an executive
We can't hear
session.
you.
I'm sorry. When executive session is, they have one, is it to be announced by the manager or the solicitors? Just for my clarification.
As long as it's announced.
Okay, just a minute, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kushner.
The issue with the dryer is, right, that the company that sold it is no longer in business. So we had to track down the company and get them. There was a lot, you know, I mean, you can say what you want, but look, I'm in construction, there's no way that you don't leak 4 million gallons for it being pristine in 2014, 15. There's just no way.
I'd still like to know if I went through the 4,000 gallons that got leaked of all sewage.
4 million.
4 million, excuse me, to Boston Township.
Mr. Antola, did you want to talk about?
Thank you.
Did you want to ask a question? No, I'm talking to Mr. Antola.
No, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Just name and address, Jeff.
Jeff Antola, 335 Winspray Drive. I just would like.
Spelling.
ANTOLIC, 335 Winspray Drive.
I'm sorry.
Winspray Drive.
What's the street number?
335. There's just been no talk about plans for the restaurant. I just want one comment on what's going on with the restaurant. An RFP, we stuck with Viva, just give us an update.
That's something to be there.
That's all. Just an update on the restaurant.
Get a discussion now, or, I mean, it has been under discussion. And I'm certainly in favor of, we're going through an RFQ, RFP process, which is gonna take a while. You know, probably to June next year. We can do if we can find the right tenant, we could do a 1-year lease. Depending on what happens with the RFP, RFQ, that could, maybe doesn't go through, nothing happens with that, they could extend it, we could move to someone else. I'm in favor of putting that out there and getting proposals from local restaurant owners or, you know, in the area, whatever, to come in and operate the facility, the restaurant, for 1 year. They're not gonna be able to, you know, build up any kind of banquet business or anything, or weddings, because that takes time, but someone that has
It would be just at the bottom part.
Someone has the need gumption to come in and operate for Sunday or test the market, not having to put a building up. I propose doing a very reasonable lease and taking some percentage of sales, but whatever the board thinks, but we'd have to first agree that that is something good to do, because my feeling is it's not good to let anything sit empty for a long time. Things go bad just sitting.
Yeah, Jim, I think we're.
Kitchen moving, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
And the RFQ has been posted and is open.
It is open. The RFQ is open for long term, but that process will not be finalized till June 30th of next year. We can do something for the next 1 year period if someone's interested to come in. Doesn't have to be not a pop-up restaurant. You want someone reputable. You're not gonna just give it to someone that's gonna go in there and trash the place and walk away.
Yeah.
So I think what we're gonna do, Jeff, is just talk to the staff more, and then put it on the next agenda. Talk about whether the board has interest in putting a short-term lease for a restaurant for 1 year until the RFQ gets finalized.
Thanks.
Ms. Vlasic, how long are you gonna be?
It all depends if my Italian comes out. Okay, just a few questions. In terms of the RFQ, when I have not read the whole thing, but in the part of it that I read, it was talking about or mentioning that the township would be able to accept it, not accept it, have the right to question, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't read anything about having any residents or there be a committee. I know that there's talk of a team, but is that team going to include residents?
Yes. Remember, we talked about getting the
Yes.
RFQ out and then having major public input at a big building that everybody can come to in the township.
Okay, but that's
Yeah.
thank you very much. And another question, does Pathfinder have any more phases scheduled? No? Well, phase 2.
No.
You planning commission get any of that?
I'm pretty sure that's the last one. I think they mentioned that there's potential to be a smaller third in the back, but they said it probably access is an issue and there's not much back there, yeah. So.
And a question about the basketball camp, is that just open for Exeter students?
Laura could answer that.
No, so there is an option for non-residents, and the fee? Is that?
They just approved
$55.
$55.
Yeah, so it's a great deal.
Thank you very much.
Anytime.
Short and sweet.
Supervisor reports, start with Mr. Spees.
I got a question. That's all right, I'll do it
Go ahead,
online.
Carl. That's okay.
I like to talk to you after the meeting.
File number 207.
Can't hear you, Carl. Yeah, it's on. Listen to it.
People do know about the here.
Go, Carl.
It's a timer. Yeah, 207 Hazel Lane. When the sludge dryer was running at the sewer plant, how much did that make a year? And why wasn't there any maintenance done with the amount of money it made? Well, it was made $1 million a year, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
But why wasn't any maintenance done with the money that was made with the dryer?
You'll have to talk to somebody who was here at that period of time. I wasn't involved in it. And secondly, I am at a loss as to how the dryer makes money, because it doesn't. It reduces expenses. It was my understanding that when the dryer was originally proposed, that the cake product at the end could be sold to somebody for something, but as long as I've been here, the cake has been given to a farmer to apply to his field, no cost to the farmer.
But you charge other townships when they bring their leachate, sludge, whatever you want to call it in, to have it processed.
and it goes through the normal wastewater treatment process. That is not, you can't equate an apple and an orange here. The treatment process can stand alone without the dryer. Without the dryer, you can still process the leachate and the septic hauling because the plant has the capacity to treat that sewage. The dryer doesn't have any bearing on the amount of sewage processed through the treatment plant.
I'll have to go back in a minute, because I thought in 2015 or 16, they made $1 million with just the dryer.
The dryer doesn't make money.
Oh.
What you're talking about was the money that the township earned from the leachate and the septic haulers, which is in addition to the money that the ratepayers make. I'm sorry, the ratepayers pay.
All right.
And I believe that money is not subject to the same restrictions that the revenue that the ratepayers pay.
All right. And Clarence did do a nice job on paving one of the streets. Are you going to raise the manhole covers at all? Are you? Because I hear that every night when cars go up and down the street. Boom, boom, a couple times.
They were out there today, all day in the rain.
Huh?
They were out there all day in the rain working on that.
Were you? Somebody lost 2 steamrollers. They're sitting down at the corner. And then, Vinny, a question for you. Back in 2015, when Lisa was sitting on the board, I asked her 3 separate times whether she paid tax.
I can't hear
Your mic just went off. I don't know if it was 15, because I wasn't here in 15. It might have.
No, you were sitting in the
It was about
audience.
3 years ago.
Right.
Probably. I said, when does it matter if a cat pays the taxes? I do remember that.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, what I'm saying is, I'm just
It
saying.
doesn't matter. If you pay taxes, it comes up on your record.
But I'm saying if someone has like an LLC or something, then it might not come up as their name. I don't know. Again, you'd have to talk to Lisa about that. I don't know. I was in the audience and I just said, what does it matter if her cat pays her taxes? I didn't, that's all I said. Like, if your dad paid your taxes, or my dad, or somebody's dad, it doesn't matter how the taxes got paid, as long as they're paid. I mean, that's something you have to ask Lisa about.
Are you going to give a report on May Day?
What's that?
Are you giving a report on May Day?
No, that was a John Cassa's event, not a township event, so.
Maydays is not a township event.
That was my event. With the help of some fine people out there.
We stopped because it was costing us like $50,000 to do the Maydays, so the township pulled away from, it did. So about 2 years ago.
I had it, yeah. I'm not gonna call.
Himself, not township.
Supervisor. It's not a supervisor.
John is the,
That was a John Cassadas Community Relations Director, not John Cassadas Chairman.
hashtag husband.
Thank you, Mr. Schemberg.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we forgot to go. Okay. Supervisor reports, Mr. Spees.
Just 2 quick ones. I don't know if there's any update on the recycling bin when they're coming.
Yeah, 20 days out.
Yep.
I just want to be in line.
Supervisor get a last day. Your wife could get one though.
And the other one was, it came up with the communication thing. I just, any comments or where are we on the electronic? Do we want to do electronic billboards or get?
I met with had problems with the other vendor I was working with, and I met with someone last week, and I will have some proposals for the board by the end of the month. Okay. That's it.
Vinny?
Congrats to the lacrosse.
And they did. Yeah, I was gonna say, it was a nice event. I did have to correct a potential school board member that it was not a township event. But no, I think it was good. I think, this is only the 2nd year you're doing it, and I think it's growing in a good, I think the biggest thing is trying to also make it, as you're going, is in more community ways. I just think it's going good. I'm glad Clarence said about raising manholes. I did have other residents saying how they are just hearing that ba-boom, boom, constantly, so glad for that. And then I think that's it for me. Thanks. Jeff?
Maydays was awesome. Congrats to the girls. Lacrosse. Boys got second, lost to Wilson. boys baseball made the quarterfinal playoffs, and boys volleyball plays for the county championship tomorrow night. They haven't lost a set to a county team the whole season, so they'll probably win. Yeah.
Where's the game at tomorrow?
Maybe Berks Catholic. They're potentially having the best county boys volleyball season in the history of Berks County. And just to follow up on Dave's with the mass communication, can we look into maybe like an email, like a constant contact? Or I know the school has one. We're constantly getting emails about events and stuff. That might be a.
So that is a portion of the new website that we.
Oh, okay, great.
So that is an availability as well as electronic e-newsletters to cut down on.
Awesome. Yeah, so that could maybe help out Michelle with some of the mass communication, like through email.
What's the timing for the website?
Well, that's our IT developer. Laurie, do you want to give a comment on the estimated launch date of the website?
We are estimating about June.
So, July.
Yeah. It's a lot of content to migrate.
Still in 2019, we're hoping, yes. We're very excited.
Thanks,
That's
Jim.
it for me, thanks.
And then the girls actually play Wednesday at Exeter High School. The girls that were here in the first district game, right, Larry?
Yes, at 7 o'clock.
Darren, so we should all go there and cheer them on. Darren.
Nothing.
Yeah, so just a quick, I know, Carl, we did make a lot of money for May Days, not that I want to talk about it because it wasn't a township event, but $1,100 for the library. This was with the pie in the face that Mr. Galtier spearheaded. Greg, do you have the stats? You want to just mention how much money we raised for each of the charities?
I don't want to make a mistake, but all 5 charities got at least $500, and 3 of them got around $1,000. 2 were just over 1,000, and 1 was just under 1,000. Total of $3,600 plus Exeter RCC partnership threw in another $225
For tips and for
so that everyone got 500.
And then the Exeter Community Education Foundation is going to get $6,000 from the May Days event, and then the K9, the 5K that we did is another $1,000 for the Reach for Stars, which is a organization that helps Berks County folks with Down syndrome. So overall, we raised about $12,000 between 6 charities. So definitely trying to get So that's all I had, and to thank the girls for coming, and thank the audience for their questions. I think we had a good meeting.
I would just say, if you drive over Gilman Avenue, be careful, because today there was a major pothole that opened up right in front of the
I saw the news on that.
They shut the road down, but I think they got fixed right by the McDonald's.
I think Central Berks was out there fixing it.
Yeah, so they got it fixed, but it was a pretty significant.
There was money.
Actually, a school bus got stuck in it.
Oh, no, a school bus?
Yeah, so, my son is in Peter Academy, their school bus that they used to drive kids, actually, the back wheels got stuck in it, so that's how it burst on.
Wow.
So just be careful if you're driving.
Motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Thanks, everyone. Because of Memorial Day, next meeting is Tuesday, May 28th. Not Monday. Enjoy the holiday.
Is anybody interested in volunteering?